Welcome everyone to Changing of the Hip Hop Guards. It's me, Uncle E. That's my partner, the journalist Sincere. And today we have none other than the legendary producer, DJ, beatboxer, none other than DR. Period is in the house, man. Thank you, sir, for joining us tonight. How's everything going?
What's up? What's up, fellas? Everything is all good. Working hard as usual, doing what I do best. Staying focused on this music. Making it work. You know how we do it.
Yes, sir.
DR
Yes,
style.
sir. Well, first of all, thank you once again for joining us and taking the time. We know you're a busy man, but we're going to get into what you have going on in 2022. But before we do that, if you don't mind, let's go back a little bit and let
hmm
everybody know where you're from. We all know you're from Brooklyn, but let's let everybody know where you're from and how it was coming up in Brooklyn, your teenage years.
Well, coming up as a teenager in Brooklyn, if y'all know the '90s in Brooklyn, y'all already know what that was about. That's like being on Rikers Island, straight up. But it was a lot of choices. It was a lot of options. And one of the main things that I did get to see things happen and had to make the choice, because what God did in my life, he put a lot of things in front of me and was like, look, these are the choices you got. So you can go this way or you can go that way, or you can stay focused on this gift that I install in you and develop that and let life change for you forever. So coming up, it was very hard, because we didn't have, YouTube, and we didn't have the internet like that. It was really based on who you knew and your connections and your friendship and your heart. You had to be fearless. You couldn't be no coward. You couldn't be scared to go in different neighborhoods. You couldn't be you couldn't be no sucker in those days. You had to be the aggressive and smart at the same time and not be afraid of failure, but just as well have the courage to want to win. And coming up as a teenager, you don't have all the answers, so you just look at those that's in front of you. So to me, a lot of dudes that I looked up to, they was corner boys. They was corner boys. They was dudes that had good hearts, but they had to make real life decisions in the way they was living and getting money. So when you have dudes like that around you all the time, you end up becoming like them without even knowing or them telling you this is who you're gonna be. But I also was influenced by great musicians because my mom, she always had, musicians around in the household. And with that said, I got a chance to see different things and see the creativity also bring a different person out of people and, build up different personalities and things like that. So, I decided to go that way. And I thank God that I went that way because, that's why y'all got DR period to this day.
Right, right. So tell us a little bit about, what was it that caught your interest as far as hip hop? In you just said early '90s. I'm assuming Brownsville, correct?
Yeah, Brownsville,
Brownsville,
yeah.
home of MOP, right? Mike Tyson,
Yeah, Mike
right?
Tyson, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you
You
have
know,
a lot of notable people that came out of there, like yourself from Brownsville. But what caught your attention as far as hip hop during that time?
well, like I said, it was always the music. I was very music inclined as a kid. I was always in school bands. I was
Okay.
always doing music throughout my upbringing, and then my household was full of music. And it was always about the music, but I didn't know what type of genre of music that I was going to get into. I
Mhm.
didn't even know if I was going to really get into it. I just had to learn instruments. I just had to learn how to do different things. And what was so crazy is that I started seeing MCs and how I was like introduced to MCs was crazy. I used to hear. I think it was like my first record was it was an artist called King Tut the Third, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
heard
yeah.
the song, and I was like, "Yo, this dude, every other word rhymes," and I was so amazed. And then follow up behind that was I think it was the Sugar Hill Gang, or another artist called Jimmy Spicer.
Jimmy Spicer. That was my first.
Yeah,
That's what really caught me was Jimmy Spicer.
right,
Dollar Bill,
right.
y'all.
So when I heard that, and then he had this long rhyme about super rhyme or
Super.
something like that,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, "Yo!" It was so I seen the whole vision because he told the story. Hip hop started with it was the lifestyle, because you know a lot of people
Yeah.
take away the object of hip hop. Where now I ain't gonna even say object, but the real meaning of hip hop. It was a way of life.
Right.
You know, if you understand hip hop, it's something you grow into. It ain't something you just jump into. You know, it ain't like today everybody just jumping into hip hop. That's why we get the same stuff. But what's happening is, first you discover, like, you know how to beatbox. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I learned how to beatbox. Then I started understanding turntables, learning how to DJ. Then I started becoming a graffiti writer. Then I started learning how to tag. Then started taking risks and building up my courage, jumping on trains and going to the train yards with different taggers and writing on trains and doing things like. And then I started noticing I could dance a little bit. So I started breakdancing. I was saying? I had a little athlete, like a little gymnastic abilities, doing backflips and all that. And I used to incorporate all that in my breakdancing. So what I'm basically saying is, like, it was levels to it. So when you start going from one level to the next level, then you realize that you about something in this whole lifestyle. So I found that it was like different places, and then dudes was rapping, and my brothers and them used to come back from uptown. And I never forget, and when they was uptown, what they used to do was buy all the like Cold Crush tapes and all these dudes, and they used to study their rhymes and come back around the way and start saying the rhymes. And I used to be like, yo, y'all rhyme too. And it was just a thing that was growing on me. So what really happened, I started noticing a couple little young dudes around my way was learning how to rhyme too, and I started rhyming. So that's when the MC in me started coming out more. And then I realized, I said, yo, you know what? I think this is what I want to do. I don't know what it is, but I'm just gonna be real competitive in it. And I took it like a sport. So I started getting nice at beatboxing, some battling Bismarck, RIP to Bismarck, DMX, Dougie Fresh, Rozelle, all these dudes. These dudes are my homies, and we young
Mhm.
boys. So we just battling, and and music was just growing and growing and growing. But I had also other skill sets when it came down to playing musician. You came down playing music as a musician. So hip hop really started like really growing on me, and next thing you know, I was about that life. So anything that hip hop was about, I was about. So I had to get good at it, because in those days it was about the talent. It wasn't about about, yo, this is my man, put him on, and people got on. Some situations was like that, but even when they did do that, you really, really, really had to be talented. You really had to be talented, and not only be talented, you had to be unique. So I started studying things. Like, I remember I had a book, and I used to take this book and write down, like, call my beatbox noise a name and write down different names. And I was making sheet music for my beatbox patterns. So
Oh,
when I get
damn.
into battles, I just look at these names and I knew what beats to go into back to back so I could win these battles and stuff like that. But that's just saying I became a student to the lifestyle. And the lifestyle led me into understanding, like, yo, you got more in you. You just got to get into it. And with that said, that's when a lot of things was introduced to me. I mean, going to studios and being an intern and not knowing I was an intern.
Mhm.
Like, I was just in the studio cleaning up, making coffee, and really getting good at making coffee, getting good in cleaning up. I was
Right,
learning
right,
things,
right.
but they teach me something. I mean, one of my older brother, RIP to, burn out, call Mr. B. He used to say, yo, man, I'm gonna teach you this board, because that's the first time I seen the mixing board, and it had all these knobs and everything. I thought it was something that you could communicate with space with, because it looked so sophisticated. And he said, once you learn one channel, and once you learn all the highs, the mids, and the lows, the board. And the rest is just buses and auxiliaries and inputs and he was just, and all the rest of the
Right.
spins and all that. So, I studied that, and that was the interning thing, and that's what introduced also the producer side. So, hip hop just became my lifestyle. And I, and,
Yeah.
and I had a reason to live, because it was like every day I got up, I wanted to do something that was hip hop related.
Right, right, right. Now you mentioned beatboxing and DJing early on. Were you in any groups around that time? Did you beatbox for any particular artists?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was one of those dudes that was, I was down with. It's crazy because I was down with so many different groups because that's how groups used to roll back in that time. It
Right.
was like, yo, we ain't got no music, but let's find a beatbox, and I was nice. So I was down with a bunch of different groups. I remember it was a group in Brooklyn called the Mighty Mike Masters. These
Okay.
dudes was like real dope, and I used to beatbox for them. Then we had this other group, Funky Fresh Rappers. Then I had like a group that I was in with the producer D Dot, the bad rapper,
Okay. Okay.
when he used to be Master D. And he was
Masters.
rhyming, yeah, he was rhyming with Rich and Kenny and them, and then we had the DJ Spark, and yeah, Kid Spark. It was like, yeah, I was down with a lot of different situations. And then I was a beatbox for Lazy Lays and School Lover. They used to be a group called Uptown 2.
Mm.
Mm.
And they
Okay.
was on the label that MC Light was signed to. And they had a beatbox named Opie. He was a white
Okay.
dude from the white we call it the white walls back in the days, that projects that used to be standing, and he was the beatbox, but he never really left the neighborhood. So being that he never really left the neighborhood, I always was outside. So they used to always run into me at all events. And that's how I end up beatboxing for them at like talent shows and different places and stuff like that.
Mm.
You mentioned Biz, battling the Biz. We can't overlook that. Can you take us back to
Hmm.
battling the Biz and Dougie Fresh?
Okay. Like for example, Bismarck, me and him became friends in, I say, the late, like 89, 90. Me and
Mm.
him became friends, and how we became friends, we was battling one day. I was hearing them beatboxing. I was going through, like, I was downtown Brooklyn. It was a mall called Abbey Square Mall, and I was coming through the mall, and I heard him beatboxing. I never met him before, and I was like, "Yo, you want to battle?" He was like, "Oh, you beatbox?" And I said, "Yeah." So we was just beatboxing. It was just me and him. We ain't had no crowd for a second. We was beatboxing so long. We turned around. It was a whole crowd out there, and he was like, "Yo, you nice, man. We need to hook up." And ever since then, me and him became friends. So he used to be like, "Yo, this club is gonna be popping. That club is gonna be popping." And then while our friendship was developing up, at the same time, he got put on and he was putting out records and he was beatboxing everywhere. And then, people kind of started knowing his name and I was his man. So at the same time, it ain't like he put me on or nothing, but just me and him having the beatbox relationship, like beatbox brothers, and he used to be taking me around to all the battles with him, and I used to run into him at different events. So that's how me and Biz we came together like that, and then that's when me and Dougie Fresh started becoming cool because I used to go uptown and hang because I used to go to school uptown, Martin Luther King High School on
Okay.
66 in Amsterdam.
Right. Right. Right.
So, after that, that's how I met Rozelle. That's how I met, Wise, the him with beatboxing, Tessa Sonic. Like it
Mm.
was a lot of them dudes. It was like a community of beatboxing. So that's how beatbox really like came in my life, and on those levels.
Oh,
Mhm. What about the DJ and that? Oh wait, actually, before you mentioned Scoop Lover, are we talking about the same Scoop of
Yeah,
Scrap?
School Lovers, Scrap, Big
Scrap
Daddy
Lover.
Kane, all of them used to be my homeboys.
Right.
Now,
Right.
mind
Right.
you, this is before all the fame and name dropping and
This is early
before
on.
the success kicked in. Mind you, we used to be on the block. I used to be the dude that always had a little bit of music in the house. So they used to dance. And they had a
Mm-hmm.
dance group called the IOU Dancers.
IOU. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like Cat, Reggie, School Lover. It was a bunch of them. Jam. It was everybody. And Jam was kind of like the DJ of the group on the low. And at the same time, I used to do some of their show tapes for them at the time.
Mm.
So when they go do their dancing, I had, lined up all the music for them back then, and Kane used to come through, Kane used to rhyme or whatever, and Biz come through. Like it was one of those things, like brothers around the way. So Scoob and Lays, they was rapping partners, the Uptown too. And they used to be killing it. I mean, they used to be shutting things down. They was hot in the neighborhood. So as time went on, just the relationship of most of the people that you see that's like legends in the game, used to be childhood friends with me.
Mm,
And we
that's
used to just
crazy.
be on some like, yo, what up? What up? Like it wasn't even really about like the success because none of us thought we was gonna go anywhere with it. We just was just doing stuff, just like how me and RZA used to be tight. You know what I'm saying? RZA come to the crib like the genius, you know what I'm saying? Before he was the Jizza,
Hmm.
Wu-Tang and all that. Like it's a long history. Like I could be here until next year telling you the story. Like I got
Yeah,
history
yeah.
with a lot of them, from Easy Mo B down to AB Money, all the Riff and all of them. Like, yeah, I used to mess with a lot of them. Even Man of Vision with Spanky and all these dudes that singing. Like these are all homeboys from around the way. A lot of Brooklyn dudes. Like so, a lot of dudes that set the tone in the game from Brooklyn was my peoples, down to Biggie to all of them, to Jay, all of them. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was a good upbringing. That's why I said as a teenager coming up, yeah, it was hard, but it was real fun too. When I made the decision of going the direction of music and being positive.
Right,
Right.
right, right, right. I'm glad you touched on a little bit of all these connections because one thing that was kind of puzzling me, um, your like you said, we could be here forever talking to you, but the length of your catalog, your discography, like the amount of stuff that you have done. The one thing that kept coming into my mind was like, how did he make? What was it that sparked that initial connection for him to start making all of these other connections with everybody? That's the like one of my biggest
Right.
questions that I wanted to ask you
Right.
because we're talking. I mean, man, MOP, Smooth the Hustler, Cameron, like it's such a wide range, and I'm like,
Right.
I'm sure there might be some management somewhere down the line, but I had,
Nah, that was actually all done like me as I was going along. And
right, right.
managers was trying to be on board, but nobody really was able to like hold a job down because
Mm,
when managers in those days they didn't really know much.
right, right, right. They were
So
learning on the
it was
job.
always a clashing process with me with people. So we always never seen eye to eye like the way we should, because I didn't know much, they didn't know much, but we was talking like we all knew something,
Right, right,
and we wasn't really getting anywhere with that kind of mentality. But one of the things that I had a lot of relationships.
right,
Mind you, I was a street dude too. So a lot of those dudes I mentioned, they all wasn't just rappers in the beginning either. You know what I'm saying? I
right.
ain't gonna put their business out. A lot of them used to be out there. We used to be in Midtown. We used to get money. What we
Yeah,
did
yeah.
down in those days. We used to go up to Binghamton, state New York, and get money. Like I don't really glorify those times, but those was a part of my life. Those were chapters and pages that I had to move on from. But a lot of the relationships came from a lot of those dudes on those levels, and then a lot of those dudes they like transform into music, and I was already transforming in music. And when you got a relationship, because Brooklyn was the type of place where I don't care, we might hate each other on the block, we might fight each other every day, but let you go to jail and let me go to jail, and you say you from Brooklyn, we become the best of friends. That's how Brooklyn always been. It's like we knew how to lock in. Like even on New Year's, it was crazy because Brooklyn would go out to Times Square and take over. Like it was just like knockout city time. It was like knocking every white man in there. I ain't gonna say it,
Yeah,
but it was knock everybody out time. And Brooklyn rolled deep. Like I seen dudes from Brownsville who was trying to kill dudes from Fort Greene, and Fort Greene dudes trying to kill dudes from East New York, come together like the best of friends just because we was out of our zone and we was in a whole nother area and we was on some Brooklyn stuff. So I go back in those days where, Decepticons and all that being born, and we on trains with hammers and fighting and gotta go to school, come from Brooklyn all the way uptown, and uptown dude wasn't having it. And yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, that's where a lot of my relationship came from, being one foot in the street and one foot in the music, until I found my balance and said, you know what, it's gonna be all about the music.
got
Right.
you, got you. Good.
Let me ask you. You was talking about getting on the boards and learning that. Who were some of the producers you were looking up to earlier on?
Well, I was more like it was a vinyl thing, so I was one of those vinyl collectors. Cause my mom, she always had records around the house, so I used to look at art covers, and I used to just study like who did what from who played the bass on this record, who did the producing on this record. So one of my biggest inspiration came from Quincy Jones, because I used to always see his name on all the stuff I picked up in my household. It's like, yo, who this dude Quincy Jones? And as time went on, I started studying producers for some reason. I don't know. I had this big thing about learning about the guy who made it or the guy who put it together. And as time went in and started getting nicer, then I came across Teddy Riley, but I didn't know him at the time. I used to just study him from the first record I heard him do, besides Suspected Gadget, because in that time I was in the already programming world, and records was coming out, and different songs was happening. But he did this record called Rap New Generation, something like that.
Rap's New
And
Generation. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. K
he did
Born and
this joint,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he had used the James Brown, and then the funky bass line he had with it. Boom, doom, boom, doom, man, I thought that was the most dopest beat I ever
Yeah.
heard in my life. Then he became my mentor without him knowing. And I started studying Teddy. That's how I got into chord progressions, started learning R&B, started learning how to work with singers, doing vocals, and producers like him inspired me to get like really nice and bass lines, and learn how to replay samples. Then Babyface came out of nowhere, and with the love ballads, I started learning how to do love ballads, and then I started running into dudes like Fresh Gordon, who was a producer back in the days, who did records like Push It for Salt and Pepper and all of them, stuff like that. Gordon was like a real dope producer, and he was in the hood. Then I went uptown, then I met Ultramagnetic, and I started listening to Said G and all them dudes, and they was doing their thing. Then I started hearing about Diamond D and Lord Finesse and Showbiz, AG and Showbiz. Like, it was going on, and then finding out these dudes had beat skills, not just only rhyming skills. So yeah, a lot of these dudes was like my secret mentors, and you know what I'm saying, they didn't even know they was building me. And I had so many different styles to learn and so many different things to listen to. That's why hip hop became a way of life for me, because it was such a learning tool. It was like, if you was saying you was hip hop, you had to know where it came from. Who was the first dude that cut a record? Who was like, the pioneers before you? You had to study. You had to do homework to really be calling yourself a hip hop head.
Right.
You couldn't just put a chain on and have a beat and some money and have a nice car and a bunch of girls shaking their butt. That didn't make you hip hop. People lost that energy in the game. That's why when you see it to this day, it just feels a little off to me sometimes. Well, I ain't gonna say sometimes, a lot of time. You know what I mean? And I like what's going on. I like what they're trying to do. But if the uniqueness and the artists just sit down a little bit more and allow producers to showcase the development to them, you have a lot of more classic artists coming with skill sets. Because I don't think a lot of these artists really understand their potential yet, until they really work with producers and allow producers to develop them and bring out things that they don't know that they got within them. So I'm not gonna try to move too much on, what I'm saying, bypassing the question. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Right. No, but let me ask you a quick, because you described a scene, right? When you're talking about growing up in Brooklyn and how hip hop was, and you said it was a lifestyle. It was something that you came outside and there was certain elements that were just around
Mhm.
you, right?
Right.
Now, in my opinion, right, to me, that scene of what was going on, it's what led to, for example, the music to be the way it was, right? Because you're incorporating things that you saw around you, sounds that you're listening to on a daily basis, going outside, just hanging out, doing things. Um, Obviously, all of that has changed, right? Because throughout the years, as times change and environments change, you don't have the same elements anymore. So, like, kids come outside now, they don't see or deal with the same things that might have been around for us back then. So, how is it? How can an artist or producer these days, that feeling, like you just said, like that, it's not the same feeling, but how can how do they get that feeling to pour it into the music when things have changed You know what I mean? It's not the same
Right,
type of
right.
environment. Like,
Well,
how do you?
lifestyle ain't the same no more.
Right.
It's like we had instruments to learn in our time, and instruments taught you what we call discipline. Teach you the art of music, like how scales and chords and different things in music is, situation works, right? Now that's been replaced with computers. So that's why you get a lot of programming situations. So when you don't put the heart and soul into something and you just only programming, you're going to get what you put into it. And so if it really wasn't much to put into something, that's what you're going to get out of it, not that much. So at the end of the day, what I think a lot of artists should do more is learn to connect with somebody that's the opposite of them, like a producer
Mm-hmm.
versus an artist, and see what can come of that. Because a lot of times artists miss that opportunity of hearing what a producer got to say, not just play a beat. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because the producer play a beat, and artists hear it, they go in their corner and start writing. That don't mean you're gonna make a hit record. That just don't mean that. Sometimes you might ask the producer, like, yo, Jay-Z kind of laid out a blueprint on the blackout where he went around and or the blueprint. I'm not quite sure which documentary it was, but he showed you how he went from producer to
Yeah, yeah.
producer and not just went there to get the beat. He went there to vibe with the producer.
Right, right, right.
And he's Jay-Z. He had his highest peak now. He didn't need that. If he just say A, B, C, D, people gonna go, oh my God, you see how Jay-Z broke the alphabet down? They'll go crazy at that time.
Right.
But he knew, and he knew in his mind, like, yo, I gotta challenge myself, and I also gotta let these geniuses that I'm getting the music from get a chance to tell me
Mm.
what they see on the music, so
Okay.
I can bring out a different craft in my artistry. So artists in that time believed in, getting better.
Right.
Now the newer artists to me, it's like they got their flow, they got their style, and they in this world like that's me. That's what I
See.
do. I ain't about all that extra stuff. And then when you're trying to push something on them or teach them something, they quick to tell you, yeah, it's back in the days. But I always tell people, time always repeats itself. So if it worked before, it can work again and
Mm-hmm.
again and again and again. It's just like growing a garden. Like, they do it the same way. It don't matter what chemicals and what time they plant a seed. They got to put it in the ground and give it time and let it grow. you know and that's the same way with music. What I'm saying? It's like you got to put the time in and give it a chance to grow so you can be having a career in this situation. That's why you hear artists that might come with one record and then after that you don't hear no more. It's because they didn't really develop themselves to be able to continue on what they got lucky on the first time. So I say luck because it's like playing a slot machine. You drop, you hit the jackpot. Oh, I got it, but that don't mean every time you drop money in it, you're gonna keep hitting the jackpot.
Right, right, right,
You
right.
know what I'm saying? So
So,
it's more like trying to understand, like, okay, I'm only gonna play what I know I could bet, and keep playing, and you get more of a better chance of getting closer to the jackpot when you kind of got a little bit more strategy and patience to stretch your money out to play the game longer than opposed to just dropping at the maximum bet all the time and running out your money quick. So I
gotcha, I
believe
got you.
that's what hip hop is missing. Everybody's
Mhm.
at the max. Everybody's just trying to make it happen, make the record go down this morning, and then put it out tonight. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, okay, so what point you proving? Like, what kind of money you think you gonna make? Like, what fan base you really catering to? Like, who's really gonna make you a career? Because now you at a point with your life that you're rushing so fast that you're missing your steps. You don't even understand, like, step A, step B, step C is what keeps you around for the journey. A lot of people took that away from themselves. So if new artists is learning to, slow it down just a little bit and allow themselves to like grow, they'll have a career in it. Because music business is not just about the business or the music. It's the lifestyle. It's the way you live down to the way you dress. We all got swag. We get fresh to death because of hip
Mhm.
hop.
Right, right,
You know
right,
what I'm
right,
saying? Like the clothes we wear and the way we talk, the confidence we carry, it came from hip hop. It came from the lifestyle of hip hop.
right.
This is why we can showcase something because we live it. But if you ain't living it, we can see the fraud in you. You know what I'm saying? We can see like, yeah, you won't be around for this year, or you're gonna be around for this song, but after this, you're done. You know what I mean? It's like you can see that clear as day. But a lot of the new artists, some of them need to start going, you know what? I'm almost there. Now let me connect the dots. Let me get somebody with some experience,
Okay,
somebody
that's
with some love and some passion for this game to be down with me because I'm in it for the money. So I need somebody to be in it for something else so we can put it all together and make this a career move for me. And that's what I believe.
right,
So
right, right.
I think a lot of them should understand producers ain't producers just because they make the beat. They're producers because they're like the heart to the body. They keep the beat of the heart pumping. Without the heart, you know what happens? The body don't function.
Right, right, right. So our suggestion to some new cats coming out or whatever is at some point in time, I would suggest linking up with someone like a DR period or some producer that could serve as a mentor to instill some stuff in history and provide guidance the same way Quincy Jones probably did with a young Michael Jackson, right? Because we know Quincy used to be the director of the band for Frank Sinatra. So I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that Quincy was able to pass on to like a Michael Jackson or whatever as far as stories and history. You know what I mean? To be able to teach them. But I agree with you.
Right. So that's the best way to be, because I think you get better results from what you're trying to do when you build a team. Because everybody want to be a boss, but you can't be a boss without a staff. So a lot of times people want the boss title, but they understand first to be a boss, you got to learn how to, be a good leader.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you ain't a good leader, who you gonna be the boss of? Yourself? The boss of your ideas? You know what I mean? It's like people don't understand. They like, I'm a CEO. CEO of what? I'm a boss. Boss of what? Where your team at? Oh well, I don't got that. Where your PR at? Well, I don't got that. Where your radio guy? I don't got that. Where your producer at? I'll get beats online and come on, man. Like, where you think you really gonna go? Like, you gotta understand, structure is everything. People don't make plans no more. They just make moves.
Right.
So everybody's out here making all these moves, but you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day, they losing out. So my thing about this is that you gotta learn how to team up to be successful. So if you learn how to team up to be successful, then you're gonna get something out of it. You're not gonna just be in a game and you just thinking on your own intentions and your own moves. You're gonna be lost, because if you want to be a boss, learn to be a good leader. And a lot of times I always mention, and a lot of times I always tell people like life is not even worth living if God ain't even in it. It's
Mm.
like, what are you living for then? If
Right.
you ain't got God about your business, so who's holding you down?
Right.
Because anytime any one of us, I don't care who you is, you may not pray to God, you may not believe in God, or whatever the case is, let your back get up against the wall. First thing you'll be like, oh God, please give me that. God, if you help me,
Yeah,
all of a
yeah,
sudden
yeah,
you
yeah.
got God now. You know what I mean? But he's in every last one of us. So if he's in every last one of us and he created all of us, and you got to keep him in your business so he can be all about you and his business, so your success can gel together the proper way. A lot of people can't understand the technology of that because they look at it like that's just theory. You praying to imaginary this, that, and the third. Yeah, whatever you say, but I can't speak for everyone, but I tell you it works for me. That's why I got over 30 million records sold, and that's why I'm still around. I'm still doing what I've been doing from day one. Actually, I got my own studios, my houses, my cars. All the greatest rewards came from putting hard work in. I'm not just saying this to brag or nothing, but I'm just being
Right,
honest.
right.
Like, people get things and people lose it all. And you could lose it all, but it's not what you lose, it's how the way you came, how you come back and how the way you
Mhm.
stay in the game. Because every race is not going to always be won. Some races you just have to come in second and third to have a learning experience in that particular race.
Right.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Do you remember your first placement for production wise?
Yeah. I think my first placement was House Party. And I didn't and the reason why I feel that's my first placement because that was something that happened that I was aware of. All my other placements I wasn't aware of, like as you start going back doing catalog collection and reaching for back money, you'd be like, oh, I didn't know my song was in this movie, or I didn't know my song was this. But House Party was something that I was aware of, and when they did the movie, they was like, yo, we're gonna use your music in the movie. And I was like, word. So how that worked. It was like, how much you want for the clearance of it? I said, I got to clear it. They said, yeah, you got to clear your part, and we're going to get the artists to clear their part, and we're going to get the label to clear the rest. And that first placement was the beginning. And then when I see the check, I could not believe they gave me that for that little bit of seconds of the movie. I'm like, all this money for that little bit of second? I wasn't even getting that for the record itself. So I had to go into it and like learn a little bit more like how that worked. And then I started seeing like the payout on that from the business point of view. Yeah, I was all the way in. It was nothing you could tell me at that point. I said, you know what, making records is great and all that, but it's really about this placement game, because the placement game is the publishing, because the publishing feeds you, it feeds your kids' kids, they kids. It's a lifetime of checks that never stop. It's a forever check that always comes. So if you develop that catalog the proper way, what would happen? It will feed your generations to come forever.
Mm.
So I got on that mission, and that's when I started producing everybody. I got to a point, some situation, I was like, yo, just take the beat. They was like, well, you don't know, we ain't got the button. Just take the beat, use it. Because I knew that it was going to be in catalog, you know what I'm saying? And catalog was going to be my future. So if I could say that I have something on this, it was a collectible situation. I maybe not got the upfront advance, but I got the back end. See, a lot of people don't understand everything is not about what you can get in your hand right now. Sometimes you got to prepare your move. Like, I ain't getting paid today, but give me 60 to 90 days once this hit, whatever they're using it for, I guarantee to get a check then.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Lil Fame and Billy Dance, how that all started out?
Round away. Like, it's crazy because I literally live right around the corner from them. So Fame older brother Malik, RIP to Malik, he used to be my man. He used to always come through the block and he'd be like, yo, D, what up? What's going on? I mean, we always talk. We always say what up. And they used to do a lot of crazy. I ain't gonna put their business out, but he used to do a lot of crazy stuff. But as time went on, that's how me and Fame, I mean, when he graduated from junior high school and got his little scooter riding up and down the block with no helmet, just going crazy. I was like, this dude and all that. You know what I'm saying? So we used to be childhood friends, you know what I'm saying? And as we started getting into the music, our friendship got better and better and better. So we look at each other like family, So it was like we was brothers before the music, and then as the music grew, we was able to, stay brothers, even though everybody's doing their own stuff and everybody's getting off, their careers and everything. But yeah, the relationship with us, it started off real dope. It was nothing forced. That's why I think the hits came from them. First of all, there's my street credibility, like to showcase DR period on a hip hop side, where it came down to my first body of work was done with them on the album, the first album. I produced the whole album, set one song on there, and that whole album showcased what I was capable to do was able to do as a producer, So
Right.
that was a dope experience. And then I had, Bill and Fame, then I had Lays, it was done with all the friends of mine when we was kids, to see that success happen with people as a kid and grow into something amazing like that. You can't ask for no more.
Right. What do you remember most about those recording sessions for To the Death?
Crazy, because mind you, we all don't know what we doing. We in there rocking. We don't know what we're doing on the music, but it was crazy. We had moments where, I come to the studio and I supposed to only just bring the beat to do the song. I'm coming with 1,000 more beats. So they like, yo, let's not do the song today. Let's do this one today. Like it was all over the place. But the best times was the food eating time, because we never really had it like that. Like just to go in one room and work on music and people feeding us and we can eat and you know what I'm saying, the energy of the homies coming through and everybody's excited. It was always like a block party. It was always like a party in here all the time. So those was the real exciting moments, but the magic was being created through the love and the support from everybody from around the way, and all the team players and all the crews and the members to everybody was there supporting us from day one all the way through.
Right. We got some favorites. I think we want to jump into your discography. Me and Uncle E ask about certain artists, certain songs, our favorites. We'll be here all night if we talk about each and every one of your hits.
Yeah,
But
that's what I said.
we're just going to highlight some of the big moments of your career. Let's jump into from that album. How about some hardcore? What was that reaction like when that hit the streets?
Well, how about so hardcore was crazy because we didn't know what we had. We knew we had a dope record, and we wanted everybody to hear it. So the first place that record went was to the label. It went to Select Records. It went to Silver D. Big shout out to Silver D, because as soon as he heard that record, he said, "I want to sign these dudes. Who is these dudes?" You know what I mean? And that record went from there. Then the president of the company, the owner, Fred Monet over there, Select, he was like, "Yo, this is incredible!" Like that one record started everything, and that was the first record we ever made together. And that was the first record that got us signed. That was the first record that blasted off us, and that started the whole MOP growing branch from there.
Right.
And
What
that was
about
crazy. In the hood, it was like the homie anthem. Like it was crazy. If you was about that life, how about some hardcore was your record?
right?
Yeah. So we're not going to necessarily go in order, but I'd have to ask you about this one particular song. It's me. It's my son and my one of our favorite songs. So I want to ask you how this whole thing came about. If you could take us through that whole journey, Ante Up.
Mm.
How? Please explain. First of all, how was it coming up with the beat? If you remember that, and how was the session?
Session was crazy. I'm gonna start with the beat. Now, they MOP always going through the transition from label to label because they trying to find the right label that understand what they do. So they over at Loud right now. Loud, DJ Premier, he's already in the studio with them rocking. And at this time I'm doing 1,000 things. So I wasn't really able to get on the album the proper way that I was originally on the first album. So they was down to two more open slots. They felt they needed two records, or they felt they needed that one record. And at the time, I was so busy that they had to come and see me and was like, "Yo, D, you family? Come on, D, let's get this together." So when I started playing Ante Up for them, man, they heard that joint, man, they lost their mind. They was like, "Yo, that joint is crazy." And then the night we went in the studio to go ahead and record the record, everything was going right. Man, I parked my car right in front of the studio, and I tell you this, I kid you not, yo. Came out the studio, my car was gone. And as I was
I
going
mean,
down to the pound to get my car, I was saying to myself, like, yo, you know what? This is real crazy. This is let me tell you how crazy this is. I was like, yo, I made a record that's so incredible, and then my car get cold, but I wasn't mad. I was going to that pound just thinking about that record. And then this is one record that I could say out of all my records I ever produced, this record did so much on so many levels. And I was like, wow. And then it was so crazy because Funkmaster Flex at the time, he kind of slept on MOP and us in the very beginning when we was doing How About Some Hardcore and all that. But he made a promise to us. He said, yo, man, I ain't gonna front. Y'all dudes is dope. He said, but yo, I remember he told me one day we was on 23rd Street. He said, yo, I'm not missing the next one. I guarantee you I don't miss the next one. And he happened to be right on time for Ante Up. And he was like one of the first DJs to go bananas when he got the record. He didn't question it. He didn't think about it. He just went bananas on it. Yeah, Ante Up was definitely like a real incredible record, a life changer for me.
now, you guys recorded Ante Up. At what point when they decided to do like the remix and start adding Remy Ma and Buster, were you at the sessions for that as well, or
Man,
how did
let
that
me
go?
tell you, all that stuff started happening because the record was so hot. Every rapper in the game wanted to get on that record, and dudes would have to make choices like, yo, who was going to get on this record? It was some people that's supposed to be on the record. I actually heard a couple people get on the record, but they couldn't for some reason. It was something else. I ain't gonna start nothing up, but yeah, so when Remy and Buster came, Buster at that time was like, it just made sense for Buster to get on record. Buster
Right.
wasn't letting nothing go out the door without him touching. That's his attitude. That's how he was, and he was family. He was home team with everybody. And Remy Ma was just a whole different like flavor to add to the record. And when they did all that stuff, man, by the time I got back to hear that record and hear all these different people on the record, I was overwhelmed. I was like, and then Teflon, man.
Teflon. That's
Let me
right.
tell you something, man. Teflon the Don, man. Let me tell you, boy, Teflon is such a incredible artist, man. Like Teflon, he came and because I remember when Teflon, we was working on his stuff solo, and I said, boy, Tef, they hear you gonna be crazy out here. But when he jumped on Ante Up, it was a whole different game plan. So to me, that was amazing. So that
Yep.
record, everybody jumped on that record. It was just natural chemistry. We didn't have to go out and figure out, we need to make a remix, who we gonna do.
It
Nah, everybody
just
calling, the phone was ringing.
yeah.
That was that record. Cause them, MOP by themselves hold it down. They set the
Yeah.
bar so high, it was just like undeniable. Like it was so hard to keep up with that energy. You know what I'm saying? But dudes was like, yo, I can do it. And when they got on there, yeah, they definitely did their thing.
So
No doubt, no doubt. Just give me 1 second. My
All right.
son's name is Kwani. So Kwani, this is the gentleman that made the beat to Annie Up. Yep, that fool. This is the guy, DR period, Quan. This is it, Quan.
Yeah,
so
Quan.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. It means a
Yes.
lot to me, man.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Before I go into the next cut, I gotta ask, how many fights have you witnessed with Ante Up over the years?
Man, let me tell you something. I'm gonna keep my mouth closed on that one because I ain't gonna. It was one story. I don't really want. I shouldn't. I don't even know if I should tell you,
Yeah,
but
you should.
it's one story that hit me hard because something really really tragically happened to somebody, and the person was at one of the conference that we did, and they said that while all that was going on, that song was playing.
Mm.
Oh wow.
Now I ain't saying the song did that, I
No,
ain't saying
right.
cause a situation, but for the way they explained it to us, it hit me hard. It made me go, wow, man, I didn't, I didn't have nothing to say, and I usually always have something to say. If I don't know, I'm gonna be like, next question,
Right.
But I couldn't even go next question. I was just like, wow, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, man, that record did a lot. That record, for me, it experienced a lot of moments with a lot of people in the tunnels in those days. Annie Up coming on was
Oh my.
crazy problems. Every club. So yeah, Annie Up did some things, boy. A lot of
Yo, but
people.
still to this day, man.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah,
they
yeah.
play that song and the place is going
It's a
down,
forever record.
man.
It's a
Yeah.
forever record. And hip hop is very rare. Like you find records like that. Like that's how Curtis Blow records used to be. That's how Melly Mel record was. The message and like a jungle sometimes. It made me want like
Yeah,
anytime that record come on, it was like,
hold on.
it's a forever record. You know what I'm saying? Like
But
Sugar
how
Hill
did you
Gang,
make that beat? I mean,
man.
I'm saying like how,
I can tell you the process. The beats was already made for MOP, but by the time they came to get the beat, I'm playing all my new stuff. You know what I mean?
so
Because
you
that's what
literally
I do.
sat there one day and made that beat and did you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what you had? Did you know what you had there?
Nah, when you're a producer like
Okay.
me, I make 15 beats a day. That was my workout. You know how some dudes get up early in the morning, go to the gym, and put in a hour work and whatever. I used to do that with the beats.
Okay.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And even to this day, I still do it because it's just something that I do. It's like a part of my lifestyle. You know what I mean? I get up, I make beats, bad beats, because I'm in the catalog game too. I'm in the publishing game, so I gotta submit at least 30 to 40 beats a week to my publishing house if I
Mm.
want to stay on TV and film like the way I am now. You know what I'm saying? Because there's everybody making beats. So, I got to come through correct. I got to hit them with folders of 50 beats. So as I'm making Annie Up, the beat was like that one of those days where I needed to make beats that sound sinister, because that's what I used to always call those kind of beats, sinister beats. So it was sinister week for me, because the whole week when I'm on my sinister vibe, the whole week I'm just making sinister beats. So Annie Up came through that whole channel when I was in sinister beat making mode,
Got you.
so that's
Right.
how that beat came about. I was in a certain mode because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do none of that. I go in there, I throw my prayers up, you know what I'm saying, and then that's when all these things come out of me, because God works on me in a way that I can't even explain to anybody.
Right.
Dope.
So was broken language part of that sinister week?
Broken language was a part of that. And you know, broken language was about proving something to people because when we did broken language, Smoothie Trigger was such a new group. At that time, we just got the battle of the beats. We did a record called My Everyday Life Hustling. My Everyday Lifestyle Ain't Nothing But a Hustle. We did that record, and that record hit radio, did a little something, started making noise for us. But it was signing time because now at this time, you know, companies checking for us. You know, we put the record out independent. We worked it. You know, back in the day, you throw your stickers up, your posters, and be at every club. Record labels is checking you out. They like, oh, these dudes are serious about what they doing. So we did all that, and then one time we got to the label was like, yo, we need a single, and I was like, yo, you know, I got this record, and that record came together crazy because that started early in the morning, and when it started early in the morning, before I knew it, I was like, yo, Smooth heard it. He went and got Trey. Trey came back, and yo, that record came together like magic. And by the time we finished that, that beat was a problem. It was a mistake. That ain't even supposed to be a beat I intentionally made. It turned into that later because it was the drum machine was acting up, and it had these little glitches that it kept doing with the sample. So the beat was going to and it wouldn't play the rest of the sample. It'd stop at and I'm like, why I keep doing that? And then when Smooth came and I was like, yo, you know, I was stressed out. I said, yo, man, I got this sample, don't want to play all the way through. It keeps stopping. So no matter I turn the machine off, turn it on, try to redo it, it just kept doing that. Like if it was meant to do that sound that way. And when I kept going, and then I was talking to him, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna just make the beat that go burn, 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 burn." And I kept hitting it, burn, burn. And I liked the way it sound coming out the speaker, but I didn't know it was gonna go to a beat. And he's like, "Yo, that's kind of dope." I said, "What?" So he kind of gave me a little extra push to keep on creating it. So I'm sitting there, burn, 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 burn. Then it just hit me, and I just next thing I know, I put burn, 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 burn. Then I dropped the drum, burn, burn, burn. So I'm rocking this joint, and he like, oh yo, this is crazy. He went and go get Trey. Trey come back. They sitting in there, they writing, and the more I'm seeing them getting into the writing, the more I'm getting into the beat. So I was like, we need an intro, burn, 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 burn. So now I'm doing that, and I was like, we need a breakdown, burn, burn, burn. So I'm so zoned out, man. I said, yo, y'all ready? And then they came with all their madness. Oh my God. That record was crazy. That record was out of here. As soon as we started playing it, we went back to the label, played the joint. The dude was like, yo, we need a hook. I said, man, we ain't doing no hook. Just put the record out. And he's like, nah, we can't put a record out without no hook. So we leaked it anyway, because at that point, we was on the street vibe. We know how to be independent. So we leaked it, and it started doing its things with the DJs. And people was telling them, like, yo, you crazy if y'all don't put that. They just had to catch up with us. And Will Fulton over there at Profile was like, yo, you was right with that record. Yeah, and that was the beginning of Smoother Hustler, like really taking off. So we hit the Billboard charts with a number 9. We was on the top 100, number 9 with a bullet. That was unheard of with that hardcore underground music. They was like, "Yo, I'm rocking with y'all with this." Yeah,
Right.
that opened
Yeah.
up many doors for us.
When you heard them, you know, their style of rhyming on that though, what did you think when you first heard that what they were coming with as far as the rhymes?
See, because when they was doing it, Smooth had his verse, Trig had his verse, but every time they was doing it, I noticed they kept saying the. And I was like, yo, instead of doing your whole long verse, why don't you cut it short and then let him come in, because the seems like it opens up the next verse. And he can do a little part, you can do a little part. You know, we creatively in there all throwing ideas around, and they went back and did what they do best. And that's how that whole broken language came about, man. It was amazing because I was like, yo, yeah, they skill set to this day, them dudes is like one of my top MCs, man. Them dudes
Mm,
is incredible. Smoother Hustler and Trick of the Gambler, incredible artists, man. And
absolutely.
then you got DV Elias on the other note, like yo, that chemistry was crazy. Because when we did that record, my crew can't go for that. That was done for the Nutty Professor soundtrack. That was another
Hmm.
place that was done. and it was done with me knowing. You know what I'm saying? Like they came to me, Def Jam was like, yo, we need to get a record for you on this, Nutty Professor soundtrack, this new movie Eddie Murphy putting out. Man, I went in there, we came up with my crew, can't go for that. Boom, that joint came out, boom. I hit record. So I was like, yo, we good, man. We just doing it right now. So it's a lot of great moments. Like I said, man, this story is a movie here.
Hey Ma
Mhm.
seemed to be a turning point for Cameron. Take us back to Cam picking Hey Ma beat from DR Period's catalog.
Well, I tell you, Cameron was a special situation because Cameron, the way we clicked and the way we started vibing. I was in the studio out in Jersey, Sugar Hill. It was a studio called Sugar Hill with Leaning Robinson, and they had studios out there, and I was in the building working with Queen Pen at the time, working on her album, and Cameron was in the other room, and Leanie came in and was like, yeah, Cameron is in the other room recording. I said, oh, word, tell him I said what's up. Leanie like, nigga, you right here. You go over there and tell him yourself. I say, yeah, you right. So I
Mhm.
go over there and tell him, and Cam was like, yo, DR, what's up, man? I've been trying to get with you. We talked, chopped up. Then he said, yo, I got an idea. And this is before he gets signed to the Rock and everything. He said, yo, I got some ideas, but we doing mixtapes. You think you'd be down to jump on some beats with us? We're going to use them as mixtape? I said, whatever. So I started doing a Facts of Life for them, bunch of mixtape beats. And things started bubbling in the streets or whatever the relationship of him and Dame and all of them got together. Then the album started coming together. And then that's when they was recording on Green Street, I think, downtown, Lower Manhattan on Lafayette and Houser Street, somewhere down
Mhm.
in that area. So they started recording down there. I came down there and I got up with them and I played Hey Ma. As soon as I played Hey Ma, they was like, yo, that's it. They said, yo, we going on the road though. We're gonna be going for a couple days, but we're gonna vibe on this joint while we gone. And that's what happened. They took the record. I remember Jim Jones calling me like, yo, D, man, that joint is a go. Don't give that to nobody. Yo, D, that joint is a go. I was like, yeah, all right, cool. I'll wait till y'all get back. And when they got back, yeah, that record came together like magic too. It's like everything that I kind of got a vibe with the artist and the artist seen the same vision as me. It actually became a successful record. And that's the object of a producer and an artist coming together. Like you can make hit records when y'all both is working together, not
Mhm.
just working on a beat by yourself and he's sitting here watching you struggle and trying to figure it out. Like when y'all working together, he got a couple ideas, and maybe producer ain't writers or concept, givers, but they just good energy sometimes. They might hear what you're doing and might be like, yo, I'm gonna switch the bass line up right there on that part and make it perfect for you, and do
Right.
that. So you gotta let the producer sometimes be in your world because you can get that hit record the way you want.
Right, right. What was you had an involvement with the Jacksons as well?
Yeah, I did the
And as
Dayhan
for the
projects. Yeah, I did the Dayhan projects with the Jackson. I
how did
went
that
out
come
to
about?
LA. That was a dope experience. I got a chance to meet the Jackson. And to this day, everybody laugh at me when I told them like, yo, I was sleeping in Janet Jackson bed. He's like, man, Janet Jackson wasn't letting you sleep in her bed. I said, yo, man, at the Jackson house, all of them had their own room. And she was on the Rhythm Nation tour. And Joe Jackson was like, yo, you go take Janet room. And I was in Janet
Yeah.
room, sleeping in Janet bed when she come to the house to sleep. I was like, y'all ain't gonna take that away from me. So, so at the end of the day, it was dope to wake up in the morning, go outside and play basketball with the Jackson. Cause mind you, I watched these dudes since I was a kid growing up. Just
Yeah.
in the studio making records and music, and I did a real good vibe on it. It was the project that was they had these Jackson 5 European like Korean group
Mhm.
called Daehan versus the Jackson 5. It wasn't like not versus, but whatever the Jacksons was doing, they was doing in Korean. Like it was
Mhm.
like like translating. Like if the Jacksons say something, they'll say it in. It was one of those projects.
Okay.
So I was able to get on there and get some production work, and the master producers was on there. At that time, I wasn't considered a master producer, but I was coming up, and I got a chance to put some work in. I got a little love. You know what I'm saying? I got, the master producers took the biggest credit, but I was all over it too. Not heavy, but enough where I could talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, shit. Not everybody can say they slept in Janet Jackson's bed, man.
Yeah, you know,
The most I can say is
and
I
for the
watched her
record,
on Good
I
Times.
want everybody to know, for the record, I didn't sleep with Janet Jackson. I ain't saying that.
Nah.
I was saying I slept in her bed room when she was on the Rhythm Nation tour, and that's the room she used when she over at the Jackson's house.
Just smell the
So,
sheets. That's all.
so
Just
yeah,
smell the
yeah,
sheets.
yeah, yeah. I was acting like a kid in a candy store. So you know what I mean. That's between me and my moment at that time.
No doubt.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was dope. That was real dope for me.
Like I said, I wish we could sit here all night and talk about your lengthy discography from AZ, Onyx, PE, and more. But can you touch on a little bit about the artist AI and the Japan situation?
Yeah, AI and Trey Songs. We did the project Beautiful. So this project came about when I was doing my overseas production heavy. You know, I was working with a lot of people, a lot of Rockefeller artists that was overseas, a lot of artists overseas, Estelle, all those artists. So AI came through, and she came through, and she was like, "Yo, I want to work with that producer, Dr. Perry." She told my publishing house, so at the time the publishing house set it up with me and her could meet at the studio, and the record was so hot that one of the publishing guys was like, "Yo, we're gonna get Trey Songz to get on it." I was like, "Yeah, but I know Trey." So before I knew it, Trey was at the studio. I went out. I think I went to get something to eat. Came back. Trey was upstairs, and I was like, "Oh snap, you here?" He said, "Yeah, boy, I heard that you over here cooking up." And that record, that project, and she was such a dope artist. I ain't never seen no Korean artist like that. Like she's huge over there. Like that record did crazy numbers. So I was like, wow, you know. And then they did the MTV premiere of the record. Yo, it was so amazing, man. It was so amazing to see that crowd go crazy and know every word and they. And I'm sitting home and I'm watching it, and they over there and just killing it, and they over there just like, yeah, it was an amazing situation. So that AI project, she was a real dope project, and she was real dope to work with.
Right. Can you catch us up? I'll let you, Uncle E.
No, I'm sorry. I just want to ask you because I know you also had a placement on the Get Hard, right? And Righteous
Yeah.
Kill with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro.
Mhm.
Did you get a chance to meet it? Like Al Pacino,
Yeah.
Robert De Niro? Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the movie.
You
I was in the movie. The director of the
well,
movie, when he came, he was like, "Yo," because it was so crazy because the music department kept telling him about this record that I had, and it was like, "Yo, DR got this record, man. You know, you need to hear it. I think it should be in this movie." And because they was doing a club scene where 50 Cent is in
mhm.
the club and Robert De Niro and all of them comes in and lock them up. So I'm sitting in the trailer getting all maked up and everything, but all that crazy stuff if it looked to look good for TV.
Yeah.
So so what my scene was to be on stage while they lock them up, So that record right there, it was a dope one. Me and 50 sitting in the trailer, we talking, we laughing, and it was just crazy to be on the set and then get in the movie out of nowhere. He actually literally made that little part so I could be in the movie because he loved the record so much.
Nice, 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 nice.
Yeah, so that was dope, But it was a little second. It was not long, but it was enough
This,
for my sag to look good.
don't diminish it, man. Don't make it less than what it is, man. There's people out there that just dream about doing
Right,
this much of
right,
what you've been able to do, man. So that's very dope. But yeah,
right.
yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask you about that.
No doubt. We want to thank you so much for this opportunity before we get out of here. Catch us up on what you're currently working on and what we can look forward to in the future. Everything DR, period.
Well, I'm gonna tell you now that the greatest thing about it is that I got an album I just finished up. I'm working on the second one, even though the first album didn't come. That's how I work, If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it all the way through. So I got the album. It's called The Seventh Day. It's gonna be dropping and launching on the top of the year. It's gonna come with all the videos, and then I got something special, which is a short film about the DR period story that's coming along with the album. That I think everybody's gonna go crazy for when these people hear the song, because I already knew how to pin the game for a minute, but this is the first time in my whole career that I'm having fun creating on this level. And what's so crazy about it, I think this album is some of the best production I ever did in my life. When the world get a chance to hear it, they're gonna be like, "Yo, this whole DR period sound, because it's something that ain't never been done. I ain't gonna say never been done. Now I'm overdoing it, but I say it's something that people ain't doing right now. That is definitely going to start. The album is all positive, you know. I'm giving glory to God on it. I'm letting everybody know, like it's just one of those records. Like, you know, when you hear it, you're gonna be like, "Yo, this is what I'm talking about." It talks about something, you know. So when people just can't even imagine your DR, I'm like, what he sounding like? Yeah, your boy nice. You know what I mean? Just give me a little time so I can drop these joints on you, and over the course of time, you'll get to feel my energy, you know. But you know, like everything you do, you got to, you know, just wait for the process. You know what I'm saying? So the process of the new album. So I got that. Then I got a whole bunch of albums that I just produced for other artists that's dropping. I got the Nashika album coming. I got the Barry Goods album coming. I got Neil the Playboy album coming. I got the Rockboy G's album coming. You know, I got a bunch of different albums that I locked down. That's crazy. I got BT, his album coming. You know, I did about probably good, I say 12 albums coming for the top of the year that I produced all the way through, all the joints.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I'm
Is
working. I'm working. So you're gonna get DR period, the producer heavy, and then you also get to see DR period, the artist heavy, and then you gonna also see DR period, the director on the movie side heavy. You know.
nice, nice,
So
nice.
yeah. I'm having fun right now. This is this is one of the most greatest times of my career because I done did it already. I sold over 30 million records as a producer. It's still growing. You know what I mean? And then I'm producing songs with some of the current artists right now, and then at the same time, you know, I'm building myself up. You know, I'm throwing myself in the picture because, you know, the platforms right now gives you the opportunity to showcase who you really is. Like, you know, when I came in, it was about like showcase what you got, showcase how talented you is. Now we already established that. We know DR Perry is dope on the beats. We know DR Perry can make the hits. We know DR Perry can do that. Now let me show you what else DR Perry got to offer you, you know? Because right
Right.
now, you know, I thank God that I had a great history, a great success. You know, I was very extremely successful for my work. I can't complain about nothing. I got everything and then some out of what I did, you know, with my career, and then to still be here and to still be able to still add more to it. Yeah, that's, you can't ask for no more than that, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I
It,
know it's a God-given gift.